A portal that unleashes an army of monsters suddenly appears in the middle of an urban street. There is a group of adventurers that battles these monsters. They are the Golden Seekers, and each member is the strongest of all adventurers. One of the civilians is about to be stomped out by one of the monsters. Many of the Golden Seekers see him, but they just do not care, and just argue about who among them should do the chore of saving him. As they argue, the giant monster just goes near its victim. The monster suddenly receives a powerful kick in the face that pushes it away from its victim. The man who came for the rescue asks the man if he is alright. He is Kyo, the leader of the Golden Seekers, and with his smile, everything seems like it is going to be okay. Kyo jumps high to see all the monsters coming. With his magic beam of light, many of them get eliminated instantly. He is so powerful that even the other Golden Seekers are impressed. They know that as long as he has his time magic, he will always know what the monster will do before they attack. They continue to watch him battle the monsters with marvel that he can still be called human. After a while, there is only one serpent monster left that is outside the portal. Kyo is confident that if they defeat it, it would mean they have brought peace to the people. He tells the other Golden Seekers that he will seal the portal with his magic. Suddenly, Kyo gets hit by an attack magic from behind. This leads him to get pushed inside the portal. He looks to see that his teammates have sealed the portal with an arcane magic circle. Kyo is shocked. Despite his power to see the future, never did he think he would be betrayed. He asks them why they would do this. Nathan tells him with a mischievous smile that his naivete is exactly the reason they betrayed him. All of his teammates tell him that he is a monster with level 100 time magic. They share their anger for his habit of leading them to dangerous situations, all so that they could help people, when all they wanted was to earn money. Nathan tells him that this will be the last time, and that they are saying goodbye to him. Kyo pleads with them to let him out of the portal, but they do nothing but watch. He can't believe that they would betray him for such shallow reasons. He remembers the good times they had as teammates, and how he thought they all shared the dream of protecting the world from monsters. Anger builds up while Kyo hammers on the sealed portal entrance. Monsters then come from behind him, but he manages to fend them off before they can touch him. He is then shocked to see that there are already countless monsters, all about to attack him. He activates his future vision, but his mind's eye just turns black. He smiles in acceptance that he sees no future for him. He fights them off all by himself until his body is filled with injuries and he is already exhausted. There is no time to breathe as there are still countless monsters to go. With no more strength, Kyo gets overwhelmed. Despite this, he won't give up and still powers on. He declares that he will reincarnate and reach the peak of his strength until he can finally get his revenge. As he continues to fight, he swears that he will not rest until he gets his revenge. With his last grasp of power, he unleashes an energy beam that takes out as many monsters surrounding him as possible. With his last breath, he screams. Suddenly, he wakes up in a hospital room and sees from the mirror that he is in a teenage boy's body. He smiles as he knows that the reincarnation has worked. Looking around, he sees hospital equipment that he has never seen before and realizes that it must have been years since he died. He hopes that it has not been 100 years so that he can still get his revenge. He then sees a student ID and learns that his body's owner is named Sai, and that 20 years have passed. The most shocking of all is that he sees that the boy's attribute is the void. He laughs maniacally at this revelation. He reviews that he used to be feared by his comrades because he was a time attribute. It bothered him that the attribute had no room for him to get stronger. He remembered that his future sight could not see the full potential of any person who had the void attribute. He feels sorry for the boy. He knows that the void attribute is the strongest, but it is so rare that no one knows how to train it properly. He believes that Sai must have been mocked all his life for being useless. He promises the previous owner of his body that he will make his name known throughout the whole world as the strongest adventurer. He reviews that thanks to his future sight, he knows how to train the void attribute. He believes that with his new power, he will become the strongest. He swears that he will find the traitors and make them regret having caused his death. Sai can still see the faces of his party mates when they stabbed him in the back. He knows that in order to get sweet vengeance, he will need to level up first. The void attribute is related to magic to control reality. It basically allows one to project their imagination into reality. Everyone can imagine. Turning it into reality is what's difficult. He checks his injured body and decides it is perfect for testing this skill. He applies the image he has in his mind to his body by visualizing every cell being restored. The bruises on his arms and legs soon all start to heal. He sits up, pleased that it worked. He hasn't fully mastered it yet, so his body's recovery is not at 100% yet. However, the void level will keep increasing the more he uses the skill. The effectiveness will also improve, increasing the scope and what kind of images one can convert to reality. Eventually, any image in his mind will be fully realized in reality. His thoughts are interrupted by a physician who is shocked to see that he has finally woken up. He tells his patient not to move, as he was seriously injured after a monster attack. Sai now understands what happened to his body. The doctor is amazed that he even woke up and likens it to a miracle by the saintess. Sai asks who that is, and the doctor is surprised that he doesn't know. He says she is the saintess of the pentagram saints, but Sai doesn't know about them either. The doctor figures he must be confused due to having been in a coma. He decides Sai needs a full examination and leaves the room to get ready. The young man wonders meanwhile if this group is one of the clans that came to be in the past 20 years. Aside from leveling up, He will need to get a better understanding of what the present time is like. He turns on the TV, which happens to be showing a report about the SSS class dungeon disaster from 20 years ago. Sai watches intently and is stunned to see the report state that the culprit back then was Kyo, the leader of the Golden Seekers, his former body. He can't believe it as the news takes its time sinking in. The report continues that Kyo predicted the future disaster but did not tell anyone. He planned to take advantage of the impending chaos to rule the world. The other members of the Golden Seekers prevented this from happening. Today they are known as the Great Pentagram Saints. They defeated Kyo and sealed the dungeon. Today the Saints continue to lead the world in many different areas. Sai has heard enough and shuts it down. He looks out the window and starts to laugh like a maniac. They not only betrayed him, but also destroyed his name. They murdered him and then shamelessly reaped the rewards. He vows not to forgive them. Seething with anger, he declares he will send them to hell. Sai then calms down a bit. He realizes he needs to be careful and must not get detected within their radar. He puts the remote down and picks up his phone. He checks the files and is pleased to see that the headmaster of his school is a pentagram saint. He now knows where one of them is. However, he knows Wako is a cautious man and won't show weaknesses so easily. In addition, the difference in levels is too high, as his ID card states he is just level 1. He falls back on the bad feeling, a bit frustrated, and then decides it will be smarter to try to level up first. However, he has already made Wako his first target. A few weeks later, Sai is dressed up and fully healed. The doctor still can't believe his patient recovered in mere weeks. He again wonders if this is the saint's blessing, but Sai shuts him down. He says it is all thanks to his own power. He then leaves the room and bids farewell to the doctor. He walks outside, then figures his level, which is now 27, should be enough for now. With a satisfied smile, he states that his next destination is a dungeon so he can warm up. Sai remembers that the doctor told him that the family of his body's former user all died. He feels sorry for the kid, but it is a good thing for him because now he can do what he wants. He keeps on walking until he spots the dungeon portal. He puts on a hoodie and a mask as he prepares to head in to try things out. He takes out his ID, but the nearby guard immediately looks alarmed. He grabs Sai by the wrist to stop him from entering. The young man wonders what the issue is, and the guard replies with a panicked voice that he is only level 27. This is a dungeon where adventurers have to be at least level 30 to form parties and enter. He adds that it is practically suicide for him to enter by himself. Sai flicks the guard's hand away and replies that he is from the Takigo Adventure Training Academy. As long as he signs a consent form, he can go in. The guard stammers a bit, thinking of what to reply. Suddenly, Sai hears a voice directed at him. He turns and sees 3 guys hanging out under a nearby tree. They make fun of Sai for thinking he is strong enough and say that he should know his place. Sai ignores them and then turns his attention back to the guard. He signs the consent form and then casually walks away from the guardhouse. He does thank the guard for his concern before heading into the portal. Worried, the guard points at the 3 guys and tells them to follow Sai in. One of them looks annoyed at the request and starts to counter the guard, but is stopped by his companion with glasses. He tells his 2 buddies that since no one will be watching inside, they could basically kill him with no consequences. They are all excited by the idea and rush into the dungeon. The guard thanks them, unaware of their true intentions. The 3 guys arrive inside and begin making plans on how they will make Sai's death seem like an accident. In fact, it is because of these types of adventurers that they earn money. They keep running down the dungeon's long hallway. 10 minutes later, they stop to take a breather and wonder why they haven't caught up with the kid yet. One of them points forward, and they see Sai right in front of them, facing hordes of monsters. Energy emanates from his body, and with a wave of his hand, creates a wall of flame. He then raises his hand and blasts a swirling vortex of green energy, pushing the fire at the monsters. They are all burned to a crisp as Sai stands unharmed. The 3 guys are stunned that he was able to kill a D-rank monster all by himself. One of them spots a rare item drop, which is a bag of crystals. The 3 are instantly engulfed by greed, as they will be able to live comfortably for 6 months if they sell that. They see that their target hasn't noticed them yet. They move forward to kill him and leap up the walls, moving stealthily towards the young man. The guy in glasses gives the signal, and his 2 buddies move forward for the kill. Sai notices them and is a bit annoyed at the intrusion. He turns his head and asks if they really thought they were being slick. He dodges their attacks as he comments that there are always scum trying to take what isn't theirs, no matter what year it is. The 2 guys are surprised that Sai was able to avoid their attacks. The guy with glasses figures it was luck and comes closer to attack their prey with a fire punch. Sai quickly turns and balls his fist, delivering a powerful punch right at his enemy's gut. The guy with glasses spits blood and is sent flying backwards. He lies unconscious on the ground as Sai stands unscathed. He turns to his other attackers and says he will crush them without mercy and use them as a stepping stone. An immense aura emanates from Sai as he declares that his revenge starts now. Yoichi, a subordinate of Wako, is in the dungeon to search for the academy student who went alone. He gets confused to see 3 novice hunters unconscious on the floor. Meanwhile, Sai is back in his apartment, satisfied that he was able to level up and test his void magic. He is also pleased to get the new spell called Info Obscurity, because with it he can now fake his level and erase any of his dungeon records. He lies on his bed while checking his cell phone messages. He gets angered seeing messages that say he needs to pay up while insulting him for having no attribute. The next day, he goes to the academy and is about to get into the facility. Before he can, a girl classmate named Karen says hi to him and seems glad that he is feeling better. He thanks her and says he is fine now. He is glad to see that the previous owner of his body had people worrying about him. 3 bullies suddenly approach them and insult Sai for being a weakling with no attributes. They threaten to hurt him if he does not give them money. Sai recalls the messages and realizes that they were the ones who sent them. Karen asks that they stop since her friend has just recovered from the hospital. Despite her trying to be brave, Sai can tell from the way her hand shivers that she is scared. He gets in front of the girl and tells her that he can handle them. The bullies laugh hard as they think he is acting cool in front of a woman. The leader of the bullies threatens to hurt him by saying that he will remind him that he is a useless nobody. Sai replies that it is they who should be reminded of their place. He recalls his promise to make the previous owner of his body known as the strongest adventurer throughout the world. He makes a fighting pose and declares that he is someone who keeps his word. This angers the bully leader, who summons flame from his hand. Karen reminds him that using magic outside the dungeon is against school rules. The bully does not care and simply replies that this is Sai's fault for trying to defy him. He throws his fireball. Sai remains calm and collected as he summons flame on his own and throws it back at him. The 2 fireballs meet in the middle of their paths and explode. The other bullies are shocked to see that their victim has the same magic. Sai looks at the bully leader with contempt and asks if that was all he got. This angers the leader, who tells the other bullies that they need to attack too. The other 2 unleash their own water and wind magic. Sai counters it with his own water and wind magic. They get shocked at how many attributes he can do. Sai then says that it is his turn to attack. With a snap of his finger, he unleashes an armor of flame and approaches the bullies with the promise that he won't kill them. They fear him so much that they start to run away. Sai grabs the leader before he can get away and asks why they bullied him when he asked for help in the past. He looks like a demon as he grabs the bully by the jaw. He tells the scared boy that vermin like them are all alike. He swings his fire-covered fist and tells the bully that he will not stop his fist no matter what he says. His fist meets the bully's face, making him fly like a cannon. Karen is shocked that her friend turned out to be so powerful. Sai promises that no one will look down on him ever again and declares that he will walk the path of becoming the strongest. The bullies apologize while they try to get away. As he tries to get away, the leader is frustrated that Sai has completely changed after his discharge. Sai sighs and says he was easier than he thought. He and Karen enter the school. In the corridor, every person they pass by is looking at Sai with discomfort. Sai is worried that he must have stood out too much after beating up the bullies. Someone suddenly grabs his shoulder and asks if he is Sai. It is Yoichi, and he can tell that he is an upperclassman. He does not want to talk to him, so he says that he needs to go to class. Yoichi introduces himself as the leader of Bidding the Cat. Karen recognizes the name and realizes it is the group that Principal Wako formed. Hearing this makes Sai intrigued. Yoichi asks him again if he can spare him time. This time, Sai says he will. They go to an empty classroom where Yoichi asks him if he was the one who defeated the adventurers found in the D-rank dungeon last night. Sai pretends he does not know what he is talking about, but deep down, he is worried that his concealment failed. Yoichi continues to say that he was told that a student had entered the dungeon and that he went to investigate. He reports that he found 3 infamous criminals known for hunting novices. He also finds it suspicious that he was seen using multiple magic attributes earlier. Sai smiles, now that he realizes that he does not know the specifics of his magic. Yoichi demands that he tell him that he was the one who defeated the criminals. Sai answers that he did not remember much of what happened in the dungeon last night, but he tells him that there is no way a level 1 like him can do the things he is accusing him of. He shows him his student ID, so Yoichi confirms that he is indeed just level 1, and with a void attribute at that. Now he thinks that he has just wasted his time. He apologizes for bothering Sai and leaves. Sai smiles as it occurs to him that he can use Yoichi to get to Wako. He sees this as a perfect time to test the magic he just got. Yoichi heads to Wako's office to report to him about what happened in the D-rank dungeon last night. Wako is shown to be much older than before. He is angry that Yaochai did a bad job by hiring incompetent novice hunters. Yoichi bows respectfully and apologizes. Wako approaches him and tells him that if he gets caught hiring novice hunters, he too will be investigated. He grabs Yoichi's face and threatens to get rid of him if something goes wrong. Yoichi bows again and tells him he absolutely understands. Deep down, he is angry that he needs to put up with his boss. He regrets that he did not squeeze out more hush money from the novice hunters when he had the chance. Wako says that there are still things about what happened last night that he does not understand. He looks at Yoichi's report and sees that it says that at least a third-year student would have defeated his goons. He thinks this is not true since there is no single third-year student who entered the dungeon last night. He thinks that the hunters must have been defeated by monsters instead. He shares that it would only be possible that a person defeated them if something extremely unusual happened instead. This leads Yoichi to remember seeing Sai's student ID and how it shows that he is only level 1 with a void attribute. He asks Wako if it is possible that someone with a unique attribute might be involved. The boss thinks about it and believes that it is plausible. His answer gives Yoichi confidence, and he asks that Wako lead the matter to him. He looks so evil as he thinks about Sai. Academy students are in the dungeon, while the members of Bidding the Cat are fending off some monsters. A monkey monster manages to get near some of the students, so they run. Yoichi blasts it with magic, killing it before it can touch anyone. He tells the students not to break formation next time. They are all amazed by Yoichi, so some want to join Bidding the Cat. Yoichi sees that he has already dealt with all the monsters in the area. The Bidding the Cat members honor his achievement by saluting him. He tells them that he will leave the rest of them while he goes off on his own. Now alone, he wants to go after Sai. He pulls out a chain golden pendant. It lights up as he commands it to find Sai. The end of the chain points the way towards his target. Yoichi realizes that his target went off on his own too, and begins to walk to find him. He envisions that he will kill Sai while they are alone and pass it off as some kind of accident that regularly occurs in the dungeon. He recalls how he saw the bullies retreat when they fought Sai. He investigated and summoned the bullies to him to question them. They told him about how the no-attribute kid defeated them with their own magic, while also creating a huge flame like nothing they had ever seen before. Yoichi did not believe them. He ordered his men to get rid of the bullies now that they had proven themselves incompetent. They begged for him to show them mercy. Yoichi saw the leader of the bullies looking traumatized just remembering Sai. Yoichi continues finding Sai. He recalls how, because of the fear in the eyes of the bully, he had Sai go to the special class hosted by Bidding the Cat. Until now, he still thinks that Sai must have just used some tricks to defeat the bullies and the novice hunters. He sees that there is a trail of monster corpses and suspects that must be Sai's doing. He can tell from their bodies that they were destroyed by a single shot of fire magic. Despite this, Yoichi does not see the feat as that impressive. He recalls that Wako can do the same magic despite being a pentagram dropout. He swears that he will surpass his boss someday and take his place as Pentagram to rule the world. The very thought of his dream makes him laugh in bliss. He believes that for his dream to be attained, he must not let anyone find out about his connection to the novice hunters. He smiles at the thought of killing Sai to ensure that he will not cause problems in the future. His chain tells him that his target is near. He takes a look at the corner and is shocked to see Sai sitting on top of a pile of monster corpses. Sai tells him that he is late. Yoichi wonders how he knew he was coming when he was careful to conceal his presence. Sai tells him that he knows he is surprised, and he knows he followed him. Yoichi comes out of the shadows to face him. Sai reveals that he knows that he hunted down novices and extorted money from them. The frustrated Yoichi asks how he knows this. Sai instead answers that he knows that he enjoys hunting and tormenting others. He swears that he will teach him the feeling of being hunted instead. Sai smiles, excited to test out his new magic. Yoichi tells Sai that he is too dangerous to be left alive and charges at him at a quick speed to kill him. Sai evades and throws a fireball at him. Yoichi cuts the flame with his sword, and then immediately gets attacked by lightning magic that he blocks again with his blade. Just as Yoichi gets his balance, earth spikes suddenly rise from the floor, like they are his prison bars. He cuts it to pieces, freeing himself. Just as he asked about his magic, Sai is already behind him, ready to cut him down. Yoichi senses him and manages to block his blade. He warns Sai that he is getting in the way of his plans. He goes on to monologue about how he will surpass Wako and become a pentagram saint someday. Sai asks why he is targeting Wako when there are other pentagram members. Yoichi reveals that it is because Wako is a pentagram saint dropout, and that it only makes sense to target the weakest member. His plan disgusts Sai. Now he looks down on Yoichi for what he deems is his pathetic ambition. This enraged Yoichi, who attacks him again. The villain keeps attacking him while asking what is so wrong with wanting power, money, and women. He wants the power to trample on anyone without anyone saying anything about it. He declares that it is the power he wants. He imagines that one day he will even get hold of Claudia's weakness, and he will make her his. Sai is getting tired of his words, so he wants to end the fight as quickly as possible. He makes a slice, instantly shattering Yoichi's sword. Sai walks towards his opponent with his magic sword ready. He casts the spell of absolute hypnosis on Yoichi. With it, the Ma goes into a trance. He then falls unconscious on the floor. Sai reviews that the spell required that he break his opponent's spirit first. He orders Yoichi to get up. Like magic, Yoichi stands up without the help of his legs. The man looks half asleep while he calls Sai his master. Sai smiles to see that his spell has been a success. He orders his new puppet to focus on the task in the dungeon for now and wait for further instructions. Yoichi says he understands. He returns to his normal composure and says he will go back to leading the group. Sai watches him leave his side with a smile. Later, Karin finds Sai and tells him that she was worried about him. Sai acts casual and tells him that he was just talking to Yoichi about how to make their dreams come true. Karin asks if he received any good advice. He replies that thanks to Yoichi, one of his dreams will surely come true. Karin puts on a cheerful smile and wishes him the best. Yoichi sees them and tells them that the special class is about to end. Karin tells Sai that they should go with them. Secretly, the man is glad that he participated in the special class, now that he finally has a pawn that Wako would never suspect. Wako asks for an update regarding the investigation of the novice hunter incident. Responding as usual, Yoichi confirms that a student with a unique attribute was involved. He gives a report about Sai, who he says is a first-year student utilizing void magic. Still under hypnosis, he says the boy is being interrogated and has admitted to his faults. Hearing that he used multi-attribute magic, Wako's ears perk up. The young man gives a subtle but devious smile and says he needs more time to learn about the specifics of the magic. Speaking of which, he adds that it's been a long time since he joined, so he invites the headmaster to take the lead. Giving a few stretches, the pentagram mage agrees that it wouldn't be a bad idea. After all, it's been a while since he last tortured someone, especially to relieve his stress. Yoichi tries to move to the site right away, but his words are cut short as the phone suddenly rings. Although annoyed by the interruption, Wako tells the student to leave and that he'll follow soon after. He takes a seat to answer the call and is met by the familiar voice of a woman who mockingly thanks him for choosing them in a bid. He tells his old comrade to drop the act. Lilith was on the other line, looking much more extravagant than 20 years ago. The company's CEO says he's too curt for someone who shares government subsidies with her. Exchanging less than playful banter, the principal tries to end the conversation as he's busy. His rush makes her laugh, knowing he doesn't do anything aside from embezzle school funds. Her words successfully rile him up, so he gives it and says he's investigating a student with the void attribute. Furrowing her brows in confusion, she questions what worth such useless magic could have. The old man argues that it's still a unique attribute regardless of the notions, meaning anything could happen. With a sly smile, she says it might end up just like Kyo's magic. His grip on the phone tightens, and he screams about not wanting to hear such a sickening name, earning a laugh out of her. That said, she can't blame him for his reaction. Ever since their former leader awakened that power, the balance among adventurers completely shifted. In that case, she decides to keep in touch and ask about his findings later on. Listening to the line click and the tone beep, Wako throws the phone onto the table, annoyed by the selfish fox. His anger is through the roof after hearing Kyo's wretched name again after so long. Fortunately, he had the perfect outlet to release all his frustration on. The principal walked deep into the woods and eventually reached a hidden shed while thinking of torture methods. Delighted by the options, he opens the lock, intending to take all his anger for Kyo out on their new captive. Finally pushing the doors open, he apologizes for the wait but sees the room completely empty and untouched. He's confused to not see anyone there. Suddenly, Yoichi appears from behind, ambushing the superior and slashing right for the old man's neck. However, Wako catches the blade with his fingers, not even looking back to defend himself. For some reason, the cocky student gravely underestimated one of the pentagram saints. He says the boy must have gotten too arrogant after getting all that praise from petty jobs. It was foolish to think that he could be defeated with a trick, and now it was time to pay for the consequences of his naive rebellion. Magic chains immediately bound Yoichi and suspended him in the air. With this, Wako proves his superiority by kicking the boy around, saying he's no match for him. Walking towards the beaten student, he reiterates just how stupid a mistake it is he made. The two of them had a good system going, but he had to go and ruin it with his naive desires. Just then, a chilling voice struck the old man's ears, saying he's still an idiot. With fear suddenly crawling throughout his body, he urgently looked around, demanding to know who was there. 20 years had passed, but he was still groveling before the strong and exploiting the weak. Revealing himself, Sai looked right at the principal and let insults rain non-stop. The principal was indignant, unwilling to accept such disrespect from a student of his own school. A man who ruined himself with foolish desires sounds like the perfect description of Wako himself. Unable to stand it anymore, he demands to know the student's ID number and threatens expulsion. Unfortunately for him, they were only just beginning. Sai had finally made it to this part, and he had every intention of savoring it just between them. Looking straight at his old friend, Sai invites Wako for a quick chat. Still unaware of who the boy was, the principal just refused to be treated more like a fool. His body hummed with power and the ground shook with his command. The pentagram saint closed his fist in anger and was determined to show the gap between their strength. Using advanced earth magic, a huge hand made of stone shot out of the ground. With the solid block raised high, there was no way an ordinary student could defend. With no qualms over killing him, the principal pushed his arm forward and the stone figure followed suit, launching itself toward the boy. The sheer impact makes it explode, and the sight of flying rocks makes Wako cackle in delight, feeling like he established his superiority. Considering how the shed was completely destroyed, he wonders if he overdid things for such a weak opponent. The two of them weren't properly introduced, so he decides to at least watch his final moments. Approaching the thorn on his side, the old man suddenly stopped as he saw a figure standing tall in wreckage. He couldn't believe his eyes, watching while Sai walked forward. The student clicked his tongue in disappointment, repeating that he wanted to talk first. Despite getting hit directly by the advanced magic, he emerged completely unscathed. Refusing to accept that he's just an ordinary student, Wako demands to know his identity. Smiling out of pure amusement, the young man says he should know who he is already. His words only serve to annoy his old comrade, who tells him to stop playing around. Feigning offense and hurt, Sai gives a smile, uncannily similar to his old self's, and asks if he really can't remember. A terrible and heavy sense of dread hits Wako as he sees Kyo's resemblance to the boy. Falling into panic and confusion, he convinces himself that it's completely impossible, given how they watched him die 2 decades ago. He curses the student and commands him to drop the pathetic act, thinking he just saw history segments on the news. That guy, their old leader, was unmistakably and undeniably dead. Summoning a powerful gust of wind in anger, The pentagram saint threatens to unleash another spell. Sai only sighs in disappointment and says he hasn't changed a bit in the past 20 years. He only believes what's convenient for him and ignores the painful truth. Wako was tired of all his ridiculous claims and was prepared to kill the boy. This is simply how it was. He was swayed by the sweet words of those around him, which eventually ended up with him betraying his one and only leader back in the day. The principal swings, launching a huge and razor-sharp wind slash at his target. Without missing a beat, Sai faces the spell head-on and cuts it apart, forcing the entire spell to dissipate into the air. Wako couldn't believe it, not because he was overpowered, but because the boy fought back with the exact magic Kyo used when he was alive. While the battle was supposed to intensify at this point, the old man fell to his knees in absolute confusion. He's sure they sealed him in the dungeon, and he should have died from the monsters. The reincarnated young man confirms it, even adding how he was thrown into despair by their betrayal. Trembling from the sinister power, the principal asks if he really was their old comrade. Saying it took him long enough, Sai gives a convincing grin and expresses how glad he is that they still remember him. Again refusing to believe it, Wako got back on his feet, saying it's impossible for one to die and return to the world. A concentration of magic swirled around his palm. He orders the ghost to stay quiet and launches a bunch of spells at the rebellious student. Sai nonchalantly jumped back, barely putting in any effort, but dodging the spell perfectly. The assault wasn't over, and attacks continued to come, but his uncaring expression didn't even change. The principal was getting tired of the insolent brat and knew that he had to get the upper hand one way or another. He was a non-combatant during his time as a Golden Seeker, and the Saints still ridicule him for it. However, that doesn't mean that he was weak compared to other people. He gathers all his power, commanding the earth and wind to pool around him. Spending 2 whole years to develop this secret technique, the old man freely wields dual magic and creates a tornado of stones. The time to end the match has come, so he launches the spell at his enemy. Stones and razor-sharp winds shot at the student, and the impact was strong and compact enough to cause an explosion where the target stood. With this, Wako panted hard, having exhausted most of his magic power with that one attack. The dust was starting to settle, but no counterattack had come at all. The old man smiled, feeling like he finally won. He raised his hands in triumph, maniacally declaring that he had beaten the unbeatable hero. Continuing to gloat, he says he's grown these past 2 decades, even saying that his time magic was outdated. So many years have passed since they last met, and he was no longer the weakling he knew. Underestimating him was the wrong move, as his level had surely risen with all the experiences he stacked together. His heightened emotions mellow a while after, but the pride from defeating Kyo stuck inside, fueling his newfound confidence. With this victory, he was going to claim the title of the strongest pentagram saint. Just then, a voice asked if he was done. Wako's eyes opened in shock. Before him was Sai, completely fine despite taking advanced spells directly and consecutively. The young man acknowledges that he's indeed learned powerful magic. It's good. At least with this, he can let his anger out without holding anything back. In that moment, Wako was reminded why they killed their old leader. It's because he was a monster. With that said, he can't back out now, not after he worked so hard to get where he is. Refusing to be ridiculed once again, the old man attacks and tries to crush his enemy with another stone giant hand. Saying he's still barking as loudly as ever, Sai blocks the attack using a wall of water, forcing the spell to turn to mud and fall apart. As usual, it was nowhere near enough to beat him. Terrified and not wanting to let him get close, Wako unleashes a flurry of wind slashes. None of them even reach their target, as the student swings his hand to create a defensive twister that blocks everything coming. The old man was getting completely overwhelmed, and eventually ended up being blown away into a nearby tree. Before he could even recover, Sai had already closed the distance and was holding a flaming fist ready. Wako realizes that he was outmatched and immediately grovels for forgiveness he didn't deserve. Bowing his head, he apologizes for what he did 20 years ago. Planting his face to the ground, he hid a smile that relied on his old friend's foolish kindness. Unfortunately, he was no longer the person they used to know. This is exactly how they tracked him back then, and there was no way he was allowing himself to be tricked like before. Grasping at straws, the principal points out how they used to be great friends, but he had no right nor was he in any position to say those words, especially to the man he killed. The demonic fist, blazing with vengeance, was driven into the traitor's face. The punishment doesn't end with one hit, and Wako is pummeled with countless strikes to his body. With the hazy view of Sai's unleashed hatred, he realizes that he should never have messed with a monster. The final blow lands and he's sent crashing into the forest. The young man holds off on killing him for now, as there's still something he wants to ask. Unfortunately, Wako was out cold from the barrage and could no longer be communicated with, at least for now. Wako wakes up after a long while and finds Sai standing nearby, waiting for him to regain consciousness. He backed away in fearful instinct and begged that his life be spared at the very least. The old comrade says he won't kill him on the condition that he answers all his questions unhesitatingly and truthfully. To start things off, the student takes the principal's phone out and asks about the Lilith in his contacts. Wako tries to protest and reach for his device, but Sai simply pulls away, adding that the two of them spoke to each other just earlier. With a threatening gaze, he demands to know what they talked about. He considers lying but decides against it and shares that she's coming to Japan in 3 days. The young man can't help but be delighted by this news, remembering how she was all part of the ploy to betray him. With this, he's set on what his next moves are going to be. Tossing the phone back to its owner, he tells Wako to treat Lilith normally for now. However, he's forbidden to tell her anything about the student's real identity. To stop him from doing so, Sai says he cast a spell on his heart while he was out cold. If he were to tell her anything about him, his very being would explode from the inside. The gruesome picture painted is enough to reach the old man, who nods and promises to keep quiet. The victor leaves with one last reminder. He didn't really place such a spell on his heart, but knowing his old comrade, he's certain that the bluff worked well enough to shut his mouth. Using hypnosis on him was out of the question, because he wants him to completely suffer from despair. 3 days later, Lilith was on the plane back to Japan as planned. Her right-hand man, Yang, informs her that they are nearing their destination. The flight attendant spoke, about to announce their arrival, but an ear-piercing scream suddenly rang through the speakers. A bunch of men took the personnel hostage, saying they were hijacking the plane. Everyone was on the floor, forced to comply with their orders. Just then, a lone woman stood. The criminals were still busy threatening everyone, and belatedly noticed the pentagram saint approaching. She closes the gap in an instant and, like a bolt of light, takes the first hoodlum down with a throw. They hadn't even realized what was happening, but she had already moved on to take the next person down, getting front row seats to the show. A few people recognize the person saving them, and cheer as she ends the altercation as abruptly as it all started. Later on, everyone deplanes and the hijackers are quickly taken into custody. An executive of the airlines approached Lilith, endlessly thanking her for stepping in. Since she was coincidentally on the site of the incident, the airline managed to keep their reputation. More importantly, the criminals had a gun that managed to slip through their detectors. Recently, there have been many armed groups with gear made from dungeon materials. As such, she takes the opportunity to pressure the executive and strike a supplier deal for such gears. The old man bowed in agreement, not having much of a choice but to accept the offer. Later on, she makes a quick phone call. The CEO simply identifies herself and orders that the hijackers be released. Things worked quite well for her, and even served as momentary amusement. After planting the hijackers herself, she managed to seal the deal with the airlines. What's more, it was an amazing publicity stunt as several supporters now waited for her arrival. They raised their banners and screamed, cheering the famed hero on. She gave them all a sweet smile and waved goodbye. A quick car ride later, it was finally time to take care of the business, which she flew all the way to Japan for. Quick knocks come to Wako's door. Before he could even call out, Lilith entered on her own, apologizing for the intrusion. Immediately bringing the student with the void attribute up, she asks if he's made any progress. Sweating bullets, the principal says it was a dead end and a worthless failure, just as she said. She doesn't protest much, having expected such an outcome in the first place. Wako tries hard to keep his mouth shut, worried that the fake spell on his heart might activate. Moving on, she starts to talk about their actual business and suggests that they start finding a new guinea pig for the new drug they're developing. The principal has made good use of the school system so far. Sai listened to their conversation from afar, having secretly wiretapped Wako's devices. With this, he's now certain that Lilith will be the next person to experience despair. As expected of a pentagram saint, major news outlets report on Lilith's arrival in Japan. Hearing the television report on her feat with the hijackers, Wako thinks about the woman involved in the life-ending betrayal he went through years ago. She's made a fortune producing unique weapons, forged with materials found in dungeons. Unfortunately, she seems to be up to darker things involving the school. Sai gets ready to move. The saint is a hero on the surface, but takes advantage of others behind the scenes. Now with a reason in addition to his revenge, the young man moves forward with his plans. He walks through the school's corridors, wondering how he should go about it in the first place. Security was tight when he first entered the academy, and now it was going to get worse. As he decided to focus on investigating for now, a bright voice interrupted his thoughts. It was Karin, smiling at him with her big eyes and angelic vibe as usual. Closing in on his phone, she comments on how he was reading the articles about Lilith's arrival. Like everyone else, she fawns over the successful CEO, especially with the hijacking incident. Hearing her add something about the Great Snake, he asks what it's all about. It is essentially a clan of powerful people, personally formed by the saint herself. He recalls the men in black guarding her, and realizes that they must be that very group. A lot of the students there are even planning on joining the military, or the Great Snake if they're lucky. Like a flash of lighting, he gets the idea of entering that clan to get close to his target. With a new goal set, he thanks Karin for all her help and walks away. She's left confused as he runs to class, but accepts his gratitude nonetheless. In the headmaster's office, Wako's calm day is interrupted by the sharp ringing of his phone. Sai was calling, saying he needs a favor from the head of the entire school. Having no choice but to accept, the old man asks what it is. He's then given an order on how to respond if Lilith contacts him. Meanwhile, in a secluded facility, a bunch of researchers gathered around a bound man. He breathed hard and contracted his entire body, as if holding something back. Just then, the door opened and a familiar silhouette appeared from the light. Lilith arrived with a grin, wondering how her little test subject was doing. The man crawled and begged them to stop giving him the drug, knowing he might die. Before he could even finish his sentence, he finds the CEO heels on his face, driving his head to the ground so hard he can't move. She flatly rejects his plea, saying she doesn't take orders from her lab rats. She smiles and says there's no need to worry, promising that he'll get even stronger if he's compatible with the substance. With that said, she snaps her fingers, signaling at her underlings to proceed with their test. The man tried to protest, but the researchers were inches away with the dangerous syringe. As the needle hits his neck, the substance is injected into his system, causing an immediate change in his behavior. Squirming and convulsing, he gradually lost control of his body from that one shot. Lilith sighs upon seeing the side effects and says they need someone with better magic capacity. They need more data to make things work. In other words, they need more test subjects to continue development. As usual, they'll use the clan recruitment as a front to gather capable people. Riding the elevator back up, she calls Wako and says she needs people skilled at magic, requesting that he send some over from school. He's silent for a while and thinks about the order he just received. Doing as told, he suggests something. They can do a clan recruitment at the academy, where they'll be able to find skilled people for sure. She can't help but give a backhanded compliment, and says he actually comes up with good ideas. The date, time, and other specifics will soon follow, but now they know what to do. Wako puts the phone down, thinking that he did exactly as the young man ordered. In the academy auditorium, Yang presented himself with an announcement to make. He reveals the plans to hold a selection exam in the school for the Great Snake Clan. The students murmur in surprise, not expecting to get such a good chance. Sai smiled similarly, knowing he can use it to get close to his next target. Several applicants attend the selection examination, hoping to join the Great Snake Clan. As Yang goes on about the rules and how the exam will go down, Sai was only thinking of passing in order to get close to Lilith. He was trying not to draw attention after his encounter with Wako, but now it's the opposite. For the next few hours, he's going to do his best to be noticed by the examiners. Finally, people were going to get a glimpse of his true power. Having some time off after the orientation, Sai meets up with Karin, who was also participating in the selection process. Truth be told, he wanted to keep her as far as possible from the action. Even she knows that she didn't really belong there, but the young lady has her own reasons for participating. With this, they both agreed to do their best and make it through together. He doesn't know about her, but he has to make it no matter what. The first test was one to measure their magical power. There was a spherical device capable of doing that, from a mere touch from the examinee. Everyone is lined up and asked to step forward, one at a time. The first hopeful places his hand on the tool and screams to release his power. This part goes on for a while, and both applicants and proctors are subjected to disappointment. The line thins soon enough, and it's finally time for Sai to take his turn. He comes forward with a polite smile, and the examiner responds with a deadpan grunt. His interest falls lower after taking a look at the boy's ID, which shows that he's level 33 with the Void attribute. However, sparks and various flashes of light spread throughout the area as soon as his fingers made contact with the device. The brilliant and colorful shimmers were blinding, coupled with an aura that blew people away. It dies down as the young man gently pulls his hand away and asks the proctor if that was enough. With a serious gaze, the clan member records the result on his clipboard, marking a single S in the line of disappointing BS and CS. Up next was the magic skills test, where Sai started by gathering earth into a ball. The demonstration was lackluster compared to his first result, as sheer power was not enough. Just then, he moved on to create a pool of water, then came a blazing ball of fire. Wind and electricity followed soon after, and everyone was in awe as he masterfully showed control over all the basic elements. He smiles in triumph, glad that he could show the power of the Void attribute, which everyone ridiculed. Equally amazed like everyone, Karin cheered him on, so he returned the gesture and encouraged her to do her best. During her turn, the young lady faced a row of saplings. Pushing her hand forward and using her power, the pots glowed with strength. In a few seconds, the saplings grew and enormous flowers bloomed out of the pot. Several onlookers scoffed, missing the potential and saying it isn't worth much. On the other hand, Sai wasn't as foolish and immediately took note of the rare light attribute. It must be difficult for the examiners to evaluate, but it's better if she isn't involved any further. As the girl walked away with her head hung low, Yang watched intently. She's caught his eye, and he's noted her down as someone worth becoming a test subject. The last test was one-on-one duels, gesturing to the group of burly fighters in front of them. The leader says they'll be their opponents. These were true members of the clan, but they do not expect the applicants to win, instead fight well. After all, there was no way a mere student could win against them anyway. A man chuckled and stretched as he faced Sai, saying he caused a stir in the first test. While he got good results throughout the day, what matters in the end is real combat. With a condescending smile and tone, the boy says he hopes to learn a lot. The clan member announces that he'll end it all in one shot, then gathers his magic to summon a large clump of earth. Punching through, he breaks them apart and launches them forward like a rain of stones. Sai easily blocks with a firm barrier of wind and redirects the rocks back from where they came from. The examiner is shocked, not understanding how his spell was destroyed in one hit. To make things worse, his opponent had disappeared from his sight. The young man appeared behind him, stopping right before a sharp shard of ice hit his neck. Returning his words with a snarky comment, Sai completely dominates the match. His victory was announced, and everyone had their mouths wide open in shock, unable to believe that he just won against an actual clan member. Just as he planned, Yang finally starts to take notice. As soon as the exam finishes, he calls Lilith to give an update. Asked if he found anyone, he shares that there are some of interest. In particular, there was a student who passed the exam with overwhelming excellence. His marks were stellar, but he carries the void attribute. Something dings in the woman's brain as she remembers Wako mentioning something about it just recently, getting up with a delightful chuckle. A sinister expression spreads across her face at the thought of getting an interesting test subject. The time has come to announce those who passed the selection exam. Everyone listened eagerly, and the first name that came out of Yang's mouth was Sai. This doesn't come as a surprise to anyone, having witnessed his tests firsthand. Things went exactly as he planned, and now he'll be able to get close to Lilith. Moving on, the next name called out is Karin's. This selection is the one that catches people off guard. While her attribute might be unique, getting in out of pure rarity raised red flags. The fact that she was chosen might indicate a conspiracy being plotted by the CEO. That said, he can't help but feel happy after seeing her bright smile. In the end, none of that will matter as long as he's there to keep the young woman safe. He'll just achieve his goal as planned, but will do so while protecting her. A few days after the examinations, the passers are brought to the company headquarters. The small bunch is welcomed into the clan, and the next step is a suitability check before getting them onboarded. Hearing that Lilith will also be visiting, Sai's expression completely changes. The CEO will meet them after the final checks, and they'll start off with a tour of the place. They looked around the building for a while, and while the young man wanted to go to Lilith right away, he had to keep Karin safe. She was gazing in wonder at her surroundings, oblivious of the dangers lurking. Being able to join the clan made her extremely happy. Hearing this, he finally asks why she was so intent on joining anyway. The money will mainly be used to pay for medical expenses, as her mother was in the hospital. Now he knows that her reason isn't even for herself, but was driven by her filial love. This makes him even more determined to keep her safe. After a long while of walking around, they reach the entrance to the HQ basement. Amid the high-tech devices and station guards was a huge open space. One look told Sai that it was the testing facility and gave him an idea of what was about to happen next. As expected, Yang tells his men to close the doors. The exits are sealed, and the new members suddenly find themselves locked inside. It seems they're serious about not letting anyone escape their trap. A couple of students looked around, nervously demanding to know what was going on. However, the clan head sternly orders them to shut their mouths. A terrifying chill hits their back, and they finally realize the danger they were in. As mentioned earlier, it was time to conduct a suitability check with the recruits. To be specific, they were going to see how compatible they are with the new drug they were developing. It should dramatically enhance one's physical capabilities and magic power. The naive boys say it must be a good thing, not knowing it's too good to be true. Sai is the one to prompt and ask if it has any side effects on the user. Yang chuckles, deciding it'd be faster to just show them. A screen nearby started playing a recording, showing a bound test subject begging for their life. They watched in horror as he was forcefully injected with the serum, seeing just how bad things might turn out if they're incompatible. The recruits finally protest. It was ridiculous to think that they would willingly take something like that. They charge their fists with magic, ready to fight for their lives. Demanding to be let out, they make the first move and charge. Through this, Sai tells Karin to stay by his side no matter what. Yang wraps his hands in dense stone. He makes it devastatingly clear why he's the clan leader and takes the foolish students out in an instant. Knocked out of commission, the number of samples for the test also decreased. Then turning his attention to the remaining two, he decides to start with Karin first. She's the candidate carrying the rare light attribute, so he's looking forward to what she'll bring. Approaching with a large syringe in hand, he terrified the poor girl. However, he's forced to stop as Sai places himself between them. Staring the snakes down, the young man says he's going to keep low lives like them away from her. Yang scowls his annoyance and orders his men to restrain the arrogant students. A large man starts the fight with a wide swing, but his target disappears from his sight in an instant. Before he could react, he immediately got taken out with one hit. The others keep their guards up, surprised at how strong the boy actually was. He doesn't waste time and moves on to the next. Brimming with power, Sai swiftly takes everyone out in one fluid motion, and the entire clan is completely defeated. Watching the last of his men fall, even Yang couldn't believe his eyes. Turning to him with a cold glare, the boy says he's going down next. In the end, it's come to this, and Lilith's right-hand man is left with no choice. Acting slyly, he dashed towards Karin, intending to take her hostage and forced him into submission. To his surprise, he stops in his tracks as a hand firmly grips his wrist. There was no way he was getting near her, so he backed away defensively. Large beads of sweat trickled down Yang's face. The suspiciously powerful student looks at him with merciless eyes and tells the man to brace himself. Knowing what was about to go down, Sai tells Karin to stay behind her. Promising to do her best, she can't help but remain amazed by his skill, unable to even see any of the moves he made earlier. She knew he had gotten stronger, but had no idea that it was to such an extent. Yang curses the boy and tells him not to get too arrogant. There was only one thing he wanted to ask him for now. The students of the academy are being used as guinea pigs, and he wants to know why that is. Snickering at the naive question, the head says the simple explanation is because those who follow Lilith can receive her blessings. Once the development of their drug is completed, she will obtain even greater strength. They're conducting such inhumane experiments for that reason, and are determined enough to use whatever resources are available. In fact, he thinks they should consider it an honor to serve as their researchees test subjects. He remembers how Karin is working hard for her mother, who is in the hospital. She was elated to join the clan, thinking it'd help her earn enough money. The thought sparks a silent rage inside Sai, and Yang makes it worse as he points to the girl, saying she should be glad to be of use. Telling him to shut up, power bursts out of the young man, overflowing due to his anger. He glared at the despicable man who tramples on others without even understanding their struggle. While Karin was touched by his sentiments, the clan's head staggered from the sheer pressure. Laughing it off, he forces himself to calm down and think. He'd normally tell arrogant people to know their place, but he likes the boy's confidence. Making one last attempt, he invites him to serve under Lilith's command together. If he were to hand the light attribute user, she might even make him an executive. Unable to forgive such disgusting people, Sai again tells him to shut up, saying he'll regret it. Yang also lets his power loose. The ground beneath him shook and crumbled as magic pooled throughout his body. It was body-strengthening magic. Combined with his expertise in martial arts, he grew to an unbeatable level and became Lilith's deputy. Ready to start the final showdown, he charged in and quickly closed the gap. He strikes with all his power, but simply destroys the floor as the target dodges with ease. Witnessing the undeniable power, Karin can't help but be worried and afraid. Yang was completely satisfied with his demonstration and chuckled despite his enemy evading. On the other hand, Sai's eyes were full of intrigue over the capabilities of body-strengthening magic. In that case, he gets an idea. The clan leader charged, telling him not to run away this time. The young man does as told and instead focuses on creating an image in his mind. Unmoving, it was as if he had given up and accepted his fate. Yang swung for the kill, but Sai suddenly opened his eyes to activate his void magic. He catches the man's fist with a single hand, stopping his empowered hit with ease. It was impossible. The boy was using the same power as he was, but it was far stronger. He thanks him for allowing him to learn body-strengthening magic. Because of his flashy demonstration, he was able to imagine it fully. Sai uses his new skill to blow the man away. One punch sends him flying and crashing into the wall. Before his consciousness completely slipped away, Yang questions just who the boy was. With the victor of the match decided, Karin thanks her friend for saving her. After confirming that she's safe and sound, Sai then turns to the other students, saying they should escape when he opens up a path. Worried, they ask where he's going to go. Displaying just how strong he is, he breaks the steel doors open, allowing them to leave. Without turning back, he says he has something he has to do before going home. A direct call alerts Lilith to an emergency. The news of Yang's defeat and the student's escape reaches the CEO. The person on the other line was going to warn her about the man headed to her, but the words were cut off as he was suddenly choked out. As she questions just what was happening in her company, the door opens and Sai enters. She demands to know why he was going so far. The answer was disgustingly simple. He's come to pay her back for what she did to him 20 years ago. Confused about the mention of 2 decades, Lilith questions what the unwelcome visitor means. Since she was still so confused, Sai agrees to spell things out to her for now. Ever since the triple S rank dungeon 20 years ago, the Pentagram Saints were hailed as heroes, and they each rose in their respective fields. He supposes that a certain man's conspiracy was stopped that day. Feigning confidence, she asks why a student was giving her a history lesson. The saints who vanquished evil were now flourishing, so what exactly was he talking about? He then says that this was all far from the truth. She puts her guard up, noticing the stark and abrupt change in his aura. Continuing, he goes on about how she sacrificed her own comrades to reap the rewards and build her own legacy. Even now, she tramples on the will of those who once stood beside her. He asks if he's wrong, as if daring her to lie. Lilith scoffs at his words. The commotion he caused worried her, but here he was believing in conspiracy theories. However, he knows fully well that it isn't just a conspiracy. With a cold tone, Sai says she pushed her own comrade into the gate. Shivers travel down her spine, not comprehending how a random kid would know about that secret. Seeing her confusion, he asks if she still doesn't understand who he is. With this, he reveals his true identity as the reincarnation of Kyo. Like Wako, an intense sense of dread hits Lilith. She argues that it's impossible, but it did in fact happen. He used time magic, the very power that once made her call him a monster. Considering his eerily accurate accounts, she can't help but start to believe. However, sheer denial wins for now. The young man wants to know what her company has been doing in secret. If he brings that to light, her reputation is going to be crushed for sure. The threat against her empire riles the CEO up, but he was the only person who had a right to be mad. He had all the reason to be furious, considering what happened 20 years ago, and what they were doing now. Seething with hatred and overflowing with power, he refuses to forgive her. Despite this, she manages to regain her confidence. She says he shouldn't underestimate her, especially since he isn't in his old body anymore. Now that he's dared to show himself before her, she'll make him regret it for sure. The woman grabs a mounted spear and spins it around. One swing made the floor crumble, as the weapon emitted magic shockwaves. Sai withstands the attack but is forced to back away. Feeling successful, she gloats about the power of the weapon developed by her company. Forged from dungeon materials, it's tougher than any other metal. To show just how sharp it really is, she leapt high to strike once more. She unleashes a barrage of swings, thrusts, and bashes, but none hit as her former leader dodges them all without trouble. Although remaining unsuccessful, she makes fun of him for doing nothing but evading. That said, she felt something wrong deep inside and wondered why her attacks weren't landing at all. Sai, on the other hand, understood what the problem was. She has been too busy playing corporate queen that her combat skills have gotten sloppy. With all the time that has passed, she was no better than Wako. This infuriates her more than the jab at her company. Overflowing with anger, she supercharges the weapon and launches it at him. The spear impales the young man's chest, and she screams in delight upon sensing victory. Unfortunately, it was a mere illusion, and the real Sai appears safe and sound behind her. It couldn't be anything aside from void magic, but she had never heard of anything like that. In this case, she has no choice but to finish things with the last blow, so she pours all of her remaining power into the spear. To shut his mouth once and for all, Lilith set the blade ablaze and stepped in. She thrusted forward, aiming directly at her target's chest. Despite giving it her all, her attack is stopped with just 2 fingers that neatly hold the weapon in place. It was unbelievable. In the end, this was all her powers could amount to against him. He reiterates how she's even worse than she was 2 decades ago. With how things are going, she has no choice but to use her last resort. She ran forward, but for some reason passed the young man without attacking. Leaving him confused, Lilith manages to reach the syringe on her desk. Realization belatedly dawns on him, and he can only watch as she injects the drug into her system. A surge of magic burst out of her body, overflowing from the effects of the substance. She was willing to go so far and turned herself into a monster just to defeat the strongest mage in her era. Barely even human anymore, Lilith was certain that she was now unbeatable. In the end, she was going to try to win by using a performance-enhancing drug. Feeling like she's being underestimated, the CEO brags about the money poured into its development. They gathered materials only found in the depths of dungeons and spent years refining the serum. Ever since she witnessed his inhuman power before, she's been chasing a way to reach that domain. Now, with her own effort, she's found the power that will surpass them all. Despite her pride, Sai finds her pathetic. The woman was bragging so much, despite relying on a power outside her own. His insulting words pierce her heart. He apologizes for interrupting her little monologue, but it was time to put an end to their bitter little reunion. Confident in her state, she accepts his challenge and faces him head-on. Like a violent flash, she disappeared from where she stood and reached the young man in an instant. However, her fists only break the walls as he quickly maneuvers to her back. Although she's left with a crumbling office, Lilith asks to hear his opinion on her newfound strength, the fruits of her research. Closing the gap before he could react, she says she'll send him to the afterlife and plants a hit right into his gut. The blow sends him crashing to the other side of the room. She feels like she's finally won, but suddenly feels a stinging sensation in her feet. Unable to move, the woman finds an icicle driven through her foot. It's something he planted when she attacks, and now the magic connection makes her drop to the floor. In denial, she questions how he even did it. Thanks to her right-hand goon, he managed to master body enhancement in a short time. Her drugs are impressive for sure, but they're only good for stirring up dust. The continuous mockery of her research enraged the CEO, but Sai is tired of the nonsense she keeps on spouting. After trampling all over people, she has the audacity to call it progress in science. She makes him sick. As one last-ditch effort, Lilith sharpens the magic aura by her hands and swings. However, her wrist is caught in the air before she could reach her target. A quick counter to her body hits hard, and she has the wind knocked out of her completely. Falling to the ground, she questions why her newfound wasn't working or winning. That said, she already knows the answer, and it was just his sheer strength. Sai walks away, saying her power was never real to begin with. Later on, he emerges outside the company building, which was smoking from his battle. He's greeted by Karin, and they're delighted to see each other safe and sound. Reporters suddenly came flooding in, apparently tipped off by an anonymous caller. The girl knows it was her classmate, but he brushes it off with a laugh. Now the truth about the company's crimes is out. The test subjects are safe, and Lilith has lost everything. Calling to Sai, Karin says she still doesn't know the specifics but was sure that he saved her there. As such, she thanks him sincerely and with all her heart. The words hit him like a breath of fresh air. He almost forgot, but helping others is what used to mean everything to him. The news reports on the illegal experiments being conducted by Lilith's company. It was discovered after an unknown assailant attacked the Pentagram Saint, and since she's showing signs of memory disturbance, the attacker's identity remains unclear. Sai wonders how the rest will react to the news, but his curiosity is quickly quelled. Nathan was suddenly on the screen, holding a press conference to address the incident. His appearance triggers the young man. He says he's come to deliver a message on behalf of the entire group. Claiming to be devastated by Lilith's incident, he says they feel immense shame as her comrades, having failed to notice her descent into darkness. The fact that they're going to pretend to not know anything again enraged Sai. It was exactly what they did 20 years ago, and they haven't changed a single bit, still lying through their teeth without batting an eye. all to protect their reputation. People like Karin himself weren't even sacrifices, but stepping stones toward their goal. He remembers Nathan well. Based on how he acted 20 years ago, there's a high possibility that he was the mastermind behind his betrayal. Of course, he was always a calculative and cautious person. Deciding on his next move, Sai takes his phone and makes a call. Meanwhile, Claudia was in a cathedral kneeling and praying as she listened to one of her subordinates' reports. Confirming the message, she then prayed to her god and asks that they be guided to a future filled with light. At the same time, Ingolf had his workout interrupted, as he was told that the council meeting was to start. He drops the weight and says he'll be there soon. Scowling hard, he curses Lilith and questions what she was thinking. A while after, the virtual council meeting proceeded as planned. Nathan spoke first, leading and officially beginning the Pentagram Saints Council. The Pentagram Saints are having their meeting. Claudia confirms that the assailant exposed Lei's illegal experiments. Ingolf, for his part, can't understand what Lilith was thinking, as she has brought shame to their name. Nathan gets up and states that the experiments were done by her alone. The rest of them had absolutely no idea it was happening. Waco hears this and sees that they plan to abandon Lilith and pin it all on her. He is sure that, at the very least, Nathan was aware of the experiments. He looks a bit bothered that the Saints could abandon Lilith so easily. He then turns his attention to the letter on his desk and goes back to following orders. He informs the group that he has received a sealed letter from the person who attacked Lei. Nathan asks him to read the contents. Waco opens the letter, which reads, "I return to the present world from inside the gate. I will deal with all of you, so just wait. Sato." Claudia and Ingolf's eyes go wide with shock upon hearing this, while Nathan remains pensive. Claudia asks if it could perhaps be someone else pretending to be Sato. Nathan says he couldn't have known about the inside of the gate unless he was there. She wonders if he used time magic. Ingolf now looks angry and says that if Sato is indeed back, then they just need to put him down again. Nathan says they should refrain from making a move and instead wait and see how their enemy will act. The meeting ends, and Ingolf gets up and heads to the window. He thinks about his old comrade and seethes with anger, thinking he is the one person he will never forgive. Back in the principal's office, Wako tells Sai that he followed instructions. The young student sees that Nathan is being cautious. Still, he knows they won't be able to sit still for long. He decides to first strike those whose location he already knows. Waco asks what the next step is. Sai says all he has to do is make arrangements for him to be transferred to an academy related to Ingolf, a task that should be easy with the short-term overseas study program. Wako says that Ingolf is not like him or Lei. Sai will not be able to find any bad rumors or dirt about him. He replies that he still should see him face to face. He then says he will leave it up to Wako and hangs up. He looks at the evening city skyline to contemplate a bit. Even if Ingolf has done nothing illegal, it doesn't change the fact that he betrayed him 20 years ago. Sometime later, we see a plane flying over the school. Karen sees it from the window and smiles, knowing that Sai is on board. It soon lands at its destination, and we see Sai walking at the airport. He then exits and takes in the view of Germany, which he is visiting for the first time. He checks his phone, as he has already verified the connection between this country's academy and Ingolf. He will use the German academy to get closer to his prey. He decides to head to the academy, but then stops and notices something. Two guys seem to be bullying a Japanese girl. They are speaking German, so he uses his void ability to automatically translate it. The words start to make sense, and he hears one of them asking her to hang out with them. She looks annoyed and says she refuses to go with some thugs. This angers them, and they say that she will have to be punished for that. He moves his hand forward to grab her and places his hand forcibly on her shoulder. From across the street, Sai shouts at them to leave her alone. They wonder who the heck he is. Sai repeats what he said and insults them as well. The two bullies are now red-faced with anger and use fire magic on their fists. They then charge at the tourist, telling him not to underestimate them. One of them moves in for the punch, but Sai uses his power to push them both back with incredible force. The girl turns and sees that the two men have been knocked out in one hit. She then moves her eye to Sai and wonders what is up with that student. The two goons run away. Yuki thanks him for saving her. Sai notes that they attracted a large crowd and suggests that they move. They casually walk away. Yuki remembers the last time she was saved was when she met a certain person. They reach a quiet street. Sai notices that Yuki wants to say something but is hesitating. She finally says she is grateful for what he did, as things didn't escalate. He says not to mention it, and they keep on walking. Sai feels like he has seen her somewhere before. She then asks if he is a Japanese student. He confirms this and adds that he just arrived for a short exchange program. In fact, he is now on the way to the training academy. Yuki smiles and says she will guide him there as her way of saying thank you. He says he appreciates it, and they continue on. He later learns that she is traveling around the world and that she has her own circumstances. He wonders if they are the same age, then asks if she is worried about traveling alone. She says she is fine and knows a spell or two, though Sai is unconvinced since she did just get caught. She then says he is studying at the training activity. He senses something from her tone and asks if there is anything wrong with that. She says that school is famous for being merit-based. The students have their own class ranking or hierarchy. There is even a point system that rewards achievements. Sai sees that they take meritocracy seriously here. According to Wako, Ingolf runs regular training sessions for the upper class students. If he wants to get close to Ingolf, he will need to make a splash in that type of school. Sai smiles and looks forward to the challenge. Yuki then points. The training academy's main structure looks like a castle. Sai then says he will be fine from here, and they say goodbye to each other. Before he goes, she tells him her name, and they shake hands. Her eyes go wide, though, when she hears his name. Sai wonders what the issue is. She regains her composure and just says he has the same name as someone she knows. She wishes him good luck and walks the other direction. Sai watches her for a moment and notes that something about her also feels familiar. He then turns to the academy and begins walking to his destination. On the way, someone calls his attention. A mean-looking guy named Matt asks if he is the Japanese guy who is transferring. Sai calls him a delinquent, which angers the young man. He jumps down and says Sai is nothing special. Matt then gets in his face and says he will give him a little welcome ceremony. Sai can't believe he has to deal with this just after arriving. He remembers what Yuki said and figures that Matt wants to size him up in a duel. Sai agrees, and Matt moves back a bit to get in position. He then uses his power to levitate some rocks and tosses them at Sai. The Japanese transferee easily deflects the stones and sends them to the ground. Matt's face suddenly becomes filled with fear. Sai says the quantity was nice, but the power was weak. He then summons a blazing piece of earth into his hand. He says if one is going to use earth magic, then one should at least make it this powerful. He fires the projectile past Matt, striking the wall behind him. Matt looks at the damage it caused and is stunned. He turns his eye to Sai and wonders who this guy is. Elsewhere, Yuki is on the phone with Claudia. She says she has successfully made contact with Sai and will remain in Germany to observe the target. At the Lanzig Training Academy, Sai gets his official ID. He can now step into the local dungeons. He scans his ID and sees that it is slightly different from the Japanese ones. He sees that he has 0 points and figures that must be the point system he heard about. It will track his dungeon crawls and performance. He places it in his pocket and decides to head to a dungeon since he doesn't have class today. Matt is observing him from afar and seems curious. Sai arrives at the gate and knows that he needs to rank up in order to get close to Ingolf. He enters an upper tier dungeon and sees that the inside looks like ancient ruins. He wonders what kind of monsters he will encounter here. Multiple undead skeleton warriors appear and charge at him. While they are not present in Japan, he still knows their weak spots from his previous life. The first monster approaches, and Sai jumps to the side to avoid the attack. The undead will crumble when hit with blunt force and fire. He thus delivers a strong fire punch to the skeleton's midsection. Its upper half is separated from its legs and sent flying backwards. The other monsters are surprised as Sai taunts them to come at him. Sometime later, we see that all the skeleton warriors have been defeated. Sai casually walks into the boss's room and sees a lich-like monster floating in the air. It has a heavy aura, so he decides to test the waters first. He attacks it with a fireball. The monster raises his staff and blasts the fireball, dissipating it. Sai is not that surprised, since it is a boss after all. The lich points its staff at him and fires a blast of energy. Sai jumps out of the way, but is a bit surprised to see that the orb melts whatever it touches. However, he smiles, thinking he will use that to his advantage. He concentrates the wind magic to his feet and boosts his propulsion. He blasts up from the ground right at the unsuspecting boss. He casts the magic right at the monster's head. It screams in pain as its face begins to melt. Sai lands on the floor, and the monster is soon reduced to ash. He says the spell had a high impact. However, since it was a high level, he couldn't perfectly reproduce it. He sees that he needs to raise his void magic level even more. In addition, he says that he knows Matt is there and tells him to show himself. Matt didn't think he would be spotted and says he was watching the fight. Sai asks if he is here to challenge him to another duel. He senses something in Matt's aura and figures he is hiding something. Matt says he will clarify things once and for all. He moves closer, looking like he wants to fight. Sai gets ready for battle and wonders if he is another enhancer like Lei. Matt then suddenly falls down on his knees and begs to be the new student's disciple. Sai didn't expect this and wonders if there is an ulterior motive. He also wonders what is up with the cup in Matt's hand. Matt says that he heard you pass say cups around to show respect. Sai wonders if the guy is just dumb. Matt says he is drawn to the young man's strength and begs to be taught magic. He says the fight he saw was amazing and feels dumb for ever picking a fight. Sai is a bit annoyed as things will get a bit complicated. Suddenly, he senses something and places a hand on Matt's shoulder. He then pulls him out of the way before a huge monster emerges from the floor. Matt is stunned while Sai sees that this is the real final boss. He gets ready to face this new foe while Matt remains on the ground. Matt is in extreme fear of the boss, as he says he has seen it in the manual that it is the skull dragon that wiped out an entire village ages ago, and that Ingolf of the Pentagram Saints only barely managed to bring it down. Sai steps forward towards the monster, and Matt thinks he is crazy. Sai tells him to relax while also correcting him by saying it was not Ingolf who killed it. It annoys Asia that the Pentagram Saints are keeping his victories as Sato a secret. He laughs at how cowardly his former party mates have become. The monster tries to use its giant paw to stomp on him, but he quickly steps back before it can. Sai recognizes from the power of the stomp that it is much more powerful than it was 20 years ago. He jumps high above the monster by using fire magic as propulsion, and then punches it with a fire-infused punch that breaks its head into pieces. Matt energetically cheers for his victory, but Sai warns him that it is not over yet. The monster regenerates its head. Sai informs Matt that a skull dragon's stamina is high among the undead monsters and that only exceptionally powerful magic can bring it down. The dragon howls and swings its tail at them. They manage to duck and dodge. The tail tries to hit Sai again, but he evades again. Matt is worried that all Sai can do at this point is to defend himself. Sai is trying to concentrate his imagination to conjure up a new spell. The monster unleashes its energy breath at him in the middle of it. Matt runs towards Sai, only to get dumbstruck that Sai is grabbing the dragon by its mouth, making it unable to move. Sai grips harder and then unleashes his spell that freezes the monster's entire body so that it is not moving. Matt is happy to see that the man he chose to follow is incredible. They come out of the dungeon with Matt happily calling Sai his master. Sai sees from his student ID that he has gathered a lot of points from the dungeon. He asks Matt how many points are needed for class rankings. Matt informs him that he needs 10,000 points to jump up a class. He also informs him that it is unfortunate that dungeon points are a flat rate, which means the Skull Dragon did not add any points. Sai looks at his ID again and sees that he gathered only 500 points and calculates that he needs to grind dungeons 600 times just to qualify to get bumped up. He just accepts that it will take a while until he can get to the special class. Matt tells him that there is a way he can gather points quickly. Sai demands that he tell him in an intimidating way that scares Matt. Matt informs him about the Sublime Heaven Festival that will be held a month from now, and that it is an event where students compete head-to-head on challenges. The winner will get a whopping 20,000 points. Sai is immediately interested, as he sees it as an opportunity to close the gap towards Ingolf in one move. He swears to take first place at the Sublime Heaven Festival. 1 month later, many students have gathered for the event of the Sublime Heaven Festival. Sai thinks about how he needs to gather enough points to go all the way to the top so he can get closer to Ingolf. The announcer tells everyone that the mission of the event is to claim the gemstone at the top of a tower. He says that it does not matter what method they use to get to the top of the tower, anything is permitted. Sai smiles as he sees that the game sounds exactly like what a meritocratic academy would do. Matt is hyping himself up by punching the air. Sai feels lucky that someone like Matt devoted himself to him the moment there was a two-man team contest. Yuki meets up with Sai and tells him that she just dropped by to see him shine. Matt teases that she is Sai's girlfriend, earning him a hit to the head from his master. The crowd suddenly has full attention to the stage as they see that Ingolf has appeared. Simply seeing him enrages Sai. Ingolf tells the school official that he is curious if there is a golden egg just waiting to crack among the students. The announcer tells the students to get into the tower, so they do. They see that there are only staircases leading to the top. The moment Matt gets hyped up to climb it, a wolfman monster appears to block the path. Before Matt realizes it, Sai has already fire punched the wolf in the face. The wolfman instantly goes down, so Sai tells Matt that they need to move. Spectators from outside can see Sai's progress through giant monitor screens. Ingolf and the students are impressed that Sai is so strong. Matt and other competitors take down wolf monsters with much effort. Matt says he is not tired yet he is panting and moving slowly while trying to follow Sai up the stairs. Sai suddenly senses danger. The stairs in front of him and Matt then explode. It turns out, the students in front of them have blasted the stairs with fire magic to make a huge gap so they can't follow. Matt insults them, but the students act like they can't hear him to anger him more. They run upwards as Matt yells at them some more. Matt asks Sai what they need to do now. Sai does not understand, saying all they need to do is fly up. He levitates upwards with wind magic while dragging the scared Matt along with him. The students who left Sai and Matt at the staircase have reached the front of the final chamber. They feel glad that they beat the Japanese kid. A second later, Sai arrives behind them. Sai tells the two that their little obstacle barely slowed them down. Meanwhile, Matt is telling the two students that they will not lose to them, all while still shivering in fear from the flight. The two student opponents ready their magic to attack them. Sai takes them down in a flash. Matt is so impressed since he did not even see his master move. Matt opens the chamber door, where they see the gemstone placed at the middle of the room. Matt is already celebrating, but Sai senses that it is not over yet. Portals open on the ground around the gemstone, which makes armored knights appear. Even the higher-up school official is shocked by the armored knights since they were never a part of the program. Ingolf is grinning as he is interested in how Sai is going to overcome the trial. Ingolf reveals to the official that it was he who made this trap to make things more interesting. He justifies that if they want to be great mages, dealing with things like this should be the bare minimum. Secretly, he doubts that there is a student who can cut through the numbers of the armored knights. He is happy to watch how they are going to get out of this. Sai tells Matt that their strategy is to get the gem by beating them. Matt asks how they are going to do this when there are a lot of them, and they all look so tough. Sai answers that reaching his goal means he does not care what the obstacles are. Matt cracks his fingers to get ready to back his master up. Suddenly, he ducks as a knight from behind him was about to slice through him. A knight is attacking Sai, too, but Sai uses enhancement magic to stop its sword with his fingers. He then covers his other hand with fire and uppercuts the knight. He then goes on to punch all the other knights so that they fall too. Ingolf is impressed, but he slams his fist on the table with the thought that Sai will not get out of this that easily. Even more knights appear around Sai and Matt. Yuki, who is also watching the contest, thinks Sai has no way out, but she awaits what his next move is. Sai counts that there are at least 30 knights surrounding them. He is not intimidated, as he sees that they are nothing compared to the monsters he faced 20 years ago. Knights throws spears at Sai, which he blocks with an earth shield. More knights are coming from behind, so he blows them off with wind magic. Despite his efforts, he sees that there are just too many of them, and he wants to wipe them all out with a single big spell. Knights keep attacking him, and he knows he cannot come up with a new spell on the spot. He decided that the best move is to do a spell he has already seen so that he does not need to recreate it. He remembers his fight with Waco and activates his void ability. Countless small stones rise from the ground. Then, with wind magic, he makes a tornado that throws all the stones at a quick speed at all the knights. It is so powerful that even the people outside the tower can see and feel the wind and destruction from the top of the tower. Instantly, all the knights break into pieces. Sai approaches the gemstone and proudly holds it as the winner. Matt celebrates their victory, along with the cheering crowd outside. Yuki is shocked that he used fusion magic. Ingolf is laughing to see a mere student who can cast the spell that took Waco 20 years to develop and master. He now sees Sai as a worthy student he can personally train. On a different day, all students are gathered in the auditorium for the ceremony to announce the student who will be promoted to the top class. The school official calls Sai, and the boy stands up from his seat. The crowd talks about how impressed they are with him, while Sai walks to the stage. Matt is so proud to see his master being talked about so much. The school official announces the armband ceremony, and that there is a special guest to do it. Ingolf comes to the stage, shocking the audience. Seeing him boils Sai. Ingolf goes to Sai and tells him that he was entertaining during the Sublime Heaven Festival. Sai replies that he is honored. As Ingolf hands him his armband, the man also whispers to Sai to come to his estate tonight. Matt wonders what the man just said to his master. Ingolf waves at the audience and then leaves. It boils down to the fact that he has no idea what Ingolf is plotting. Later, Sai heads to Ingolf's estate, where the butler greets him. Sai still can't figure out what Ingolf wants to talk about and worries if the man has already figured out that he is Sato. He curses that he did not have more time to prepare to battle him. The butler guides Sai to the dining hall, where Ingolf and a feast are already waiting. Ingolf asks that he sit down. After the meal, Ingolf talks to him about how he was spectacular during the festival, especially at his battle on the top floor. Ingolf intimidatingly asks what he is hiding. Sai tenses up, wondering if he already knows who he is. He calms himself as he realizes that he just might be probing for something. Ingolf asks how he was able to use the fusion magic that took Waco 20 years to create. Sai smiles now that he knows he is just curious about his abilities. He tells the man that Waco trained him back in Japan and that he was just such a good teacher that he learned it right away. Ingolf is satisfied with his answer and replies that he has mastered the technique well. He advises the boy not to misuse his power, or he will end up like Sato. Ingolf continues to tell the tale of how Sato cooked up a twisted plan 20 years ago to drag out all the monsters in the dungeon to wipe out his own allies and the rest of humanity. He continues to say that Sato's plot was put into action before his death, and that it was the Pentagram Saints who managed to stop him. Sai is gripping his fist to try his hardest to contain his rage at reacting to the lie. Yet, deep down, he does not want to let this slide. Calmly, Sai answers that he will only use his power to fight evil and that he will do whatever it takes to be the strongest alive. His words make him shine in Ingolf's eyes. He tells the boy that he continues to impress him. Ingolf says he will reward his spirit by being his sparring partner in the next training cycle. Sai answers that he would be honored to take him on. Later, while Sai is walking home in the streets, he thinks about how he will bring everything he's got to crush Ingolf in the mock battle to settle his 20 years of grudge. The periodic training for the special class is about to start. Students talk about how jealous they are that the others are going to get to see Ingolf, wishing he would train them too. Meanwhile, Sai wears an intimidating look on his face. Finally, he can settle the score with Ingolf in their upcoming mock battle during today's training. To Ingolf, it's probably just giving some curious kid a quick lesson. But that is not the case for him. He vows to crush the man completely and make him regret betraying him 20 years ago. Later, in the school grounds, the periodic training begins. Ingolf arrives and gives his speech to the special students while keeping his eyes on Sai. He mentions that he decided to spice things up with a sparring match. Nervous, the students all gasp at this announcement. Seeing their shocked faces, the headmaster assures them that he has already chosen his opponent and that it is Sai, then lets the boy step forward. Meanwhile, on the bleachers, Sai's friend, Matt, is watching, grateful that he skipped class since something exciting is happening. He then notices that the girl from the Sublime Heaven Festival is also there to watch the fight. He assumes that there is something going on between his master and the girl and grins at the thought. Yuki senses his stare but chooses to ignore it. She just focuses on the fight about to happen below, curious how it will play out. While sizing up his opponent, Sai reminds himself that Ingolf is in a different league than the other members of the Pentagram Saints. The man is one of the toughest fighters among them, but today, the one who will be kneeling is him. Ingolf makes the first move and attacks him with a punch of wind magic. The audience is in awe of how much wind power is in that punch, enough to cut through the air. Sai figures that the man used body enhancement magic and decides to counter it with earth magic. He asks if he did use body enhancement magic and praises his power at the same time, acknowledging that he barely stopped it with reinforced stone and that the power behind that blow is insane. However, Ingolf tells him that he is mistaken and hasn't used body enhancement yet. He then engulfs his fist with fire and strikes toward the boy, surprising him with how strong his power is. Sai gets pushed back, shocking his friend. The headmaster is thrilled that his opponent was able to match his attack after seeing the boy escape with wind magic. The boy has sharp instincts, but their fight isn't over yet, and the old man is determined to win. Ingolf attacks once more, and Sai barely dodges it. Feeling threatened, he decides not to hold back anymore and stops to counterattack. He concentrates on forming the energy within his hands. From the bleachers, Yuki recognizes the move as the same thing he used during the Sublime Festival. The boy unleashes his tremendous power toward the headmaster, who tries to withstand it until the end. He is impressed that the man survived the attack unscathed and acknowledges that he has gotten stronger even after 20 years. Ingolf is impressed as well, declaring that from now on, he will not hold back. Just then, an overwhelming aura radiates from him, intimidating Sai a bit. He smiles at his opponent, ready to continue the fight. Sai is impressed that his old teammate was able to create a unique spell that no one knew in the last 25 years. He is thrilled to continue the fight and test out how strong the man before him has become. He casts another earth magic, but this time it covers a wide area so it becomes hard for his opponent to dodge it. Ingolf tries his best to swerve it, and once his stance breaks, Sai uses another fusion magic and hurls it at him. His friend cheers, seeing that his master is finally taking the lead. Even Yuki sees that the old man is losing balance midair and thinks that it is perfect timing for Sai to land an attack. However, Ingolf seems not worried about his opponent and stops the fusion magic head-on without using any spell. Sai is beyond stunned that the old man just cut through it without breaking a sweat, and even Yuki cannot believe that the man just nullified it in a snap. Ingolf praises the boy for an excellent strike, but unfortunately it still cannot pierce through his mana armor. He is blazing with so much energy, and the golden haze around him acts like a shield that protects him from any attack. Aside from this, he has displayed his insane durability after withstanding and shrugging off the fusion magic without any injuries. Ingolf states that his armor turns his body into a weapon, combining attack and defense as one, which is the true essence of his mana armor. With this, he charges once more toward his opponent to show him the difference in their power. He gives another earth-shattering punch while Sai desperately dodges the high-powered spell that would definitely put him at a disadvantage. The man in front of him has definitely buffed up after 25 years. He is thinking of a counterattack but hesitates because the spell is not finished yet, and he is not confident that he can pull off such a reckless act. Seeing the boy not moving an inch, he takes the initiative and lunges, ready to end the fight. Having no other choice, Sai forges the spell, but Ingolf is confident that he can win against whatever spell he is casting. However, he feels a different air around the boy, and even though the spell is half-baked, he tries to cut through the spell again, sending the boy back. Desperate, he is willing to give more just to win the duel. To his surprise, Ingolf stops the fight, saying that they have done more than sparring. Frustrated, Sai starts to tremble, disappointed that he was not able to take down Ingolf. The training concludes and the students start to praise the old man for his fighting prowess, which was truly inspiring for the students. They acknowledge Sai's strength, but still the old man clearly overpowered him in that fight, adding that the Pentagram Saints are truly amazing heroes. His friend approaches him and commends him for the good fight, but cannot blame him for losing against Ingolf. Sai is in deep thought. He realizes that he cannot beat Ingolf with his current power, and that he has to push himself to use his void magic further and vows to become even stronger. Meanwhile, from the bleachers, Yuki observes that no one there even realizes how much potential Sai has in him and seems to treat him like a normal student from a special class. While walking back to his office, Ingolf thinks back to their fight and wants to figure out if what he felt in the last moments of the duel was bloodlust or something else. He smiles a bit, feeling that it has been ages since he has felt such power and clashed with someone. It feels thrilling, and he is looking forward to observing the young man more. That night in his room, Ingolf is drinking wine alone and recalls the fight he had with his student. It had been such a long time since he had such a wonderful fight. He was surprised himself that the young man was that strong and capable at casting spells and in combat. However, what bothered him the most was the bloodlust he felt at the last moment. It even stirred fear in him, and he remembers the only person who could make him feel that kind of emotion. His mind wanders back to the time when he could still spar with the person he respected a lot. They used to duel a lot, and he was often surprised by the new spells that the man was able to pull off. Sato had always exceeded his expectations, and that made the man his worthwhile rival. He asked for another round of duel, which his friend gladly gave. In the present, Ingolf always smiles at the happy memory. He tries to stop himself from being nostalgic after drinking booze, convincing himself that he cannot turn back time now and make something beautiful out of the tragic ending. Still, the fight he had with the student was enough to make his blood pump again. He gulps another glass of wine, thinking how exciting it would be to spar again with the student. Meanwhile, Sai is deep in the forest and is finding a spot he used to practice in. Moments later, he finds the dungeon perfect for his training. He acknowledges the fact that he is no longer a match against his old friend, and if he wants to take revenge and win against him, he has to train intensely from now on. He takes his first step inside the cave and immediately feels the gravity field making his steps harder to take. Thinking back to how strong Ingolf's punches were, he realizes that he should prioritize making his body strong so he can manage to take a punch from the old man. Once he can fight head-on, he can use that spell he has been working on and bag the victory against Ingolf. He arrives at the part of the dungeon where the beasts are gathered and braces himself for a tough fight. 3 days later, Yuki finds it odd that Sai has not come back to his dorm since after the sparring. She then sees Matt walking around the hallway, bothered and bored that his master was not around to entertain him. He then sees the girl and recognizes her as one of the fangirls of his master. He immediately perks up, and when asked about his master's location, he shares that he is not sure about it himself, but he heard that he went off to the eastern forest to train. Hearing this, Yuki immediately turns and runs back in the other direction and thanks the boy, who thinks that she is truly one dedicated fan. Later, Yuki arrives at the forest where Sai was last seen. She wonders how the boy got to know about the hidden dungeon and realizes that there is only one reason. It sounds impossible, but Sai might be Sato. About a month ago, she was given a secret order, and it was to investigate anyone who might be Sato in disguise, and Sai was on that list. She wonders if she is tailing the right person. Wanting to reach her target, she walks inside the dungeon and remembers it as still as brutal as before when she was sent there for another mission. Hiding behind cave crystals, she can feel that his aura has become completely different, that he has taken down almost all the monsters inside alone. His transformation is beyond anything she had imagined, and she begins to feel terrified. Outside the cave, she reports back to her master about Sai's progress, adding that if he continues his intense training, he will eventually reach Ingolf's strength. The woman on the other end asks if there is a chance that the boy might be Sato. Yuki pauses for a while and confirms that the possibility is very high. The woman chuckles and drops the call, finally addressing the zealots in front of her. We then see Claudia standing before her followers, saying that everything is according to God's will. Meanwhile, inside the dungeon, Sai is surrounded by all the beasts he has slayed. He has finished his training and is very sure this time that he will hit Ingolf. In his office, Waco's phone rings. He wonders who it could be and picks it up. On the other end, he hears Ingolf's voice and starts to get nervous thinking about the trouble he will hear. He then asks the guy what his concern is. Ingolf asks him about Sai's past, and he fabricates some story because he can't tell him that Sai is actually Sato. This kills Waco inside, but he will surely die if he exposes the real identity of the student. Meanwhile, Ingolf can sense that his friend is hiding something from him. He still can't prove it now, but Waco is really up to something. Suddenly, a letter is slipped under his door, and he wonders who could have sent it. He opens the letter and is surprised by its content. A boiling rage fills him. In a flashback, he and Sato were talking about the latter lending a hand in saving his hometown, which was under attack. Worried, Ingolf asked if conquering a dungeon that the nation requested would be feasible for his friend. Sato didn't actually care for the higher-ups who put him on that mission and just wanted to be there for the people who truly needed it. Ingolf laughed at how good-natured his friend is, thinking that he could be easily taken advantage of because of it. He could see that Sato took in the scenery around them and commented that it was such a wonderful place. He answered with pride that it was called Keld's Hill, and it was the best spot around there to watch the sunset. Based on his answer, his friend could tell that he cherished the place so much. He confirmed this, saying that he wanted to become stronger not just for his hometown, but for other places that were being threatened by dungeons. Like Sato, he wanted to save as many people as possible. He was surprised when Sato promised to team up with him, as he had decided to toughen up. After their promise to work together, they would meet up on the hill to push each other's limits whenever they had spare time. However, one day, he came home to his hometown being burned to ashes, and in the middle of it was his trusted friend, Sato. With trembling hands, he vowed that he would not involve the other pentagram saints in his revenge, and that he would be the one to finish Sato. Meanwhile, Sai is back in the academy after his intensive training. He is deep in thought about the next periodic training, which is about to happen in a week. He is looking forward to dueling with Ingolf again, and this time, he will definitely win. Just then, he hears Matt's voice at the other end of the hallway. He sees the boy so enthusiastic about seeing him again. Noticing that Matt is in a rush to get to him, he asks what's so important. The boy then hands him a letter from the headmaster, and he reads it immediately. A wave of shock floods him. He crumples the paper and exits, leaving Matt confused by his reaction. Meanwhile, Yuki is keeping an eye on them from a distance. In Keld's Hill, Ingolf is patiently waiting for Sai until he arrives. The headmaster reveals that he already knows about his true identity, and he has called him there to settle their score once and for all and to finally kill him. Overwhelmed with disgust, Sai replies the same thing, wanting to annihilate the friend he trusted the most. As they brace for the impending fight, Sai asks how Ingolf figured out that he is Sato. The man refuses to answer his question and clears the pentagram saints of his plans, saying that this fight is out of his personal vendetta against him. Remembering the past, he clenches his teeth and swears that he will never forgive him. Sai replies the same, mirroring his anger. Ingolf starts activating his armor and reiterates that his mana armor blocks every kind of attack, whether it is physical or magical. With this, he assures his enemy that he has no chance of winning and gives a punch that is strong enough to burn a whole forest. He anticipates what Sai will do, since during the last mock battle, all he could do was dodge, and if that's still the case, he plans on blasting another shockwave. But he is surprised that he is charging head-on and nullifies his attack with an equally powerful punch. The impact of their attacks causes an explosion. Sai is frustrated that his punch didn't even reach his opponent. Meanwhile, Ingolf realizes that something has changed with the boys' attacks, and they have become harder than before. He also realizes that he has been training hard, and is stunned when it dawns on him that his mana armor has been copied and used against him. He calls his enemy pathetic and states that he has figured out his void magic is about copying other people's spells. Although he has mastered it, Ingolf points out to him that an imitation is just an imitation and a cheap trick, and magic won't affect him. Looking back, he admits that he used to look up to Sai, but right now, he is not the same as he was. In addition to this, the boy will never break through his mana armor. Frustrated, Sai explains that his void magic is not just about copying. To better show it, he pictures it in his head and tries to manifest it. The headmaster suspects that it must be the move he tried at the end of the mock battle, which looks like his ultimate move. Even so, for him, it won't matter because no known spell has ever broken his armor and defeated him. He then lunges and attacks Sai once again. However, to his utter bewilderment, his armor gets pierced by the boy's counterattack. Because of this, he gets injured and is stunned by what happened. Sai states that the void magic isn't just about copying and wields a sword of flame, which baffles his enemy even more. He establishes that the true essence of void magic is creation through imagination and feeling its power running through your veins. Ingolf is shocked to realize that the boy just made a flaming sword out of his imagination. Sai confirms this and points out that his blade is specifically made to pierce his mana, and that it doesn't exist anywhere else. So, it only means that it is his original magic. Ingolf clenches his fist in anger, thinking how the flame sword was able to cut through his mana armor and injure him. Seeing him so confused, Sai explains that his armor isn't really as impenetrable as it seems, and it can't really block every attack, and states that there is a blind spot to his magic. He expounds that because his attribute of magic converts mana into metal, and metal isn't really impenetrable. Surprised at how he figured it out, Ingolf asks how he caught up with the secret of his spell. Sai points out that he just used it on the man moments ago, and for him to reproduce the spell, he has to understand how it is made. So, he forged an ultra-high temperature flame blade which can melt metal. Ingolf runs out of words. He couldn't believe that something has finally beaten his mana armor, which has shrugged off countless spells. He wonders how hot it is for it to be able to melt off his armor. He goads the man to accept that he can't stop the attacks anymore. Grinding his teeth in anger, Ingolf tells him to never underestimate his power because he hasn't won yet, and their fight is just starting. He then charges towards Sai, who instantly blocks his attack with his sword. The impact creates a huge explosion, which sends Ingolf backward. Seeing his enemy's frustration, he explains that he can read his moves now that he is emotional. He tells him that he hasn't changed and still gets predictable whenever he is in an overwhelming state. As if on cue, he gets provoked and attacks Sai mindlessly. The boy dodges his attack, but Ingolf is in too deep with his anger that he doesn't see any sense at all. He boils in rage, accusing Sai of burning his homeland to ashes 20 years ago. Sai is shocked to hear this from him, but chooses to evade his attack first, throwing a smokescreen at him to blind him in his next attack. The headmaster is shocked that the next thing he knows, a sword is pointed at his throat. He doesn't dare to move as one wrong decision will cut off his life. At this point, he asks Sai why he betrayed him. He trusted him as his friend. He is someone he looked up to, his good rival. His tears roll down his face, hurt that his friend is the one who caused him so much pain. Just as Sai is about to say something, an arrow pierces through Ingolf, shocking him. The man falls unconscious on the ground. He looks up and sees Claudia holding a bow in her hand, clearly the culprit in Ingolf's attack. Since the old man is about to catch up with their secrets, she needs to eliminate him from the equation. She then greets Sai as Sato, knowing about his true identity. She wants to catch up with him, but now is not the right time, promising that the real fun is just about to begin. Just then, Ingolf's body moves and is being controlled by Claudia, who orders it to kill Sai. Yuki then arrives and reports to Claudia that they are ready to move. Sai is confused why the girl is reporting to the Saintess and realizes that she is her lackey. Claudia then leaves and lets the two old friends kill each other. Sai shouts after her, wanting to stop her from leaving, but Ingolf won't let him go. The man is obviously under the Saintess's hypnosis, and clearly not in the right state of mind. He knows that the hypnosis is potent since he has used it before on Wako's lackey and just copied it from Claudia's original hypnosis magic. If this is what she used against Ingolf, it will be really hard to deal with. However, he has no choice but to push through. He tells himself to stick with his earlier plan to read his moves and counter all his attacks. The man charges toward him and he is shocked that he becomes unpredictable and more agile. Because of this, he gets thrown off and barely dodges the attack. He also notices that he gets stronger and that his muscles are swelling up like crazy. He realizes that maybe Claudia used her hypnosis to remove Ingolf's limiter that was subconsciously holding back his strength. Thinking about Claudia, he can't help but curse the woman for being so good at mind control. She even managed to improve the man's speed, and he needs to deal with that first. Ingolf rushes toward him to strike once again, and he injures his legs to stop him. However, the man is unstoppable and tries to attack once more like a madman. It seems like he doesn't feel any pain and is just focused on charging toward the enemy with one goal in mind. However, suddenly Ingolf's head starts to ache uncontrollably, and the miasma around him is fading. Sai wonders if the hypnosis failed somehow, but is sure that Claudia's spell won't blunder. If she planned to use Ingolf, she would have made sure that every detail was perfect. Thinking about all of this, something isn't adding up. He stops calculating upon seeing that Ingolf's magic armor is breaking apart, and that gives him an opportunity to charge and strike his sword toward Ingolf, piercing through his hard armor with a blast of shockwave. The clash causes an outburst of power that eventually frees Ingolf from Claudia's spell. He acknowledges his defeat and tells his friend that fighting him really gets his blood pumping. In the end, he realizes that it couldn't be Sai who burned down his homeland. Sai is shocked to hear this.